All right, the mechanical principles, again, more of the same. Make sure that head quantity is right. On this one, I've gone for something slightly different. These are a couple of bits of drop that I think Jessica was working on regarding lap joints. So what we have is a couple of joints that are set down, and one was drilled and the other one was punched and drifted. And I've got a rivet heating in there first. So the first thing I'm going to do is mesh those two surfaces together to make them sit flat. They're pretty close, but not perfect. If you have a friend, it's often nice to be able to do this with them, because doing it by yourself is a little tricky. Get those two, lay them together, just bear down on them. This should get them just to seat a little bit. You're allowing the material, the plastic nature of the material, to help them mesh together, and that will do quite nicely. I'll pop them back into the fire for a little warmth, and then assemble the whole thing and rivet it. Probably going to have to monkey this to get it to sit a little better, and a monkey can literally just be a piece of thick wall tube, whatever you got. And also we have some slightly stouter versions over here as well, which are heavy block with transverse hole.
It might be worth pointing out that in the first couple of videos, if you watch those on riveting, Mark actually used his Pritchell hole as a monkey.
Yeah. And all you're trying to do is get all your bearing surface to sit together. So the back of the rivet head, and this is kind of your primary things. You're going to have the back of the rivet head seated nicely to your first plate, and in this case it's halving jointed. And then the next piece should be flared well in here as well, and then the rivet will form up here. If you have any gap in there, what can happen is that your rivet will actually come down, and then it will swell in the middle here in between your pieces, and your two surfaces will never bear together well. That makes sense. Anyway, let's see if this sucker will go together. Never be in a rush with this stuff. If you rush it, you wind up throwing it on the floor, and it doesn't go well. Look at that. Are you going to go in? Hey, magic happens. This is why I really, really like getting everything to cinch together cold, and then assemble everything outside of the forge, and then come in and heat it up as one unit. But for the drama of video, I'll try and do it the ridiculous way. Alright, let's see. Kind of got to push your rivet around a little bit as you go, trying to make sure it does come down square. So you might have to do some pushing hammer blows or pulling hammer blows. That went fairly well. True those up and touch against each other. Yeah, I'll do for this experiment. Press my head a touch, flip it, press my head on the other side. As I straighten, I'm just making sure that my rivet head's off the anvil. You can of course go into your hardy hole or over your Pritchell if your Pritchell's big enough. But there you go, in theory, that's what that is. I'll cool it all off. Now this should bind really, really tight, because you've got the locking of your two joints as well as the rivet. So and then hopefully some cinching from the cooling. So hopefully there should be literally no wiggle in this one at all. Yep, that is just solid. So easy enough, eh? And you'll see how these have sat down fairly well into each other on either side as well. So a good lat joint there. Okay. You can see that nice meshing in that area. Remember, if you, there we go, I'm just going to exit stage left. If you get a mesh joint like this and you want it to actuate, it will not. It'll only have a little tiny bit of wiggle, just because these shoulders are binding into each other. So, there you go. Those are the mechanical principles. Biggest trick is just try it out and be prepared to cut the occasional rivet off because you made a mess of it. Two ways to cut it off: either cut the head off with a chisel or drill out the center. Those are pretty much the easiest ways to get rid of it. And generally what happens when you drill out the center, you drill slightly smaller than the size of your shank, and the head will just peel off anyway, and the rest of it will just knock out. So that's as handy a skill as any to know.